Peace and blessings, family. Days here, back again with more of the same. The continuous trauma programming taking place through our mainstream media and its new henchman, live streaming social media. This new live streaming seems to give an immediate sense of authenticity and urgency, a type of raw reality. That POV perspective. It's a very powerful weapon, perfect for inflicting mass psychological trauma and promoting agitation propaganda, which is exactly what all these staged shootings are. What gives it away is the repeated race-based narratives, the slow release of evidence and event details to increase anticipation and distress. Similar to how television series drop pieces here and there, hints and plot twists to keep you emotionally engaged and hooked to the screen, invested and anxiously awaiting to hear what happens next, or to hear answers for missing pieces. They string us along and keep us reliant on them for answers, for the truth. But what happens when you figure out the media, the FBI, the establishment are liars and spend billions to deceive you and mislead you? What do you do then? Did this Charlotte man really die? Was he literally murdered on camera? Or is this whole thing a staged production? Did they actually kill him purposely to instigate an uprising? The unfortunate thing about this Matrix cartoon world is that we may never for sure know the answers to these questions completely. Though we understand the truth is, blacks are killed daily. We kill our own without batting an eye. Children are slayed and women are murdered all over the planet daily. What is another cop shooting? It doesn't seem like Black Lives Matter at all. It seemed like whatever the media releases is what matters. Whatever circulates social media like a wildfire, whether real or embellished, it will circulate and it then will matter. Reality becomes a huge meme. Major life events are consolidated into a simple hashtag. A raised fist and loud voice becomes a badge of honor, a symbol of power. And what power is that? It's not power at all. It's empty pride, guided by emotion and anger. Justified emotion and anger, no doubt. But it's still powerless. There is no power in pride, only insecurity and dependence. As we know, pride comes before the fall. And we fell a long time ago. Still on the ground even, motionless. We still think raising a fist will help us stand. Let's break down the confabulations here. First and foremost, in order for blacks to have a respected voice, we must demonstrate a balanced and unconditional concern for our community. As a group, it has miserably failed at this required step. How? Well, let's focus on the word unconditional. We seem to only have rage against injustice under specific conditions. These are if a non-black or white action violates a black body, though we by habit tend to ignore when we violate our own. There is a curse of enmity between us spiritually, and an engineered psychological trauma induced systemically. But that life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. See, blacks have become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Blackness is bought and sold as a product. Generationally, our culture has been and continues to be formulated through the establishment media machine. And visuals of cops killing blacks is just part of the psychological traumatization, which in turn produces a black victimhood and perpetuates a state of generational victimization. Oh, but you blacks keep killing other blacks. Why don't you ever address that? We hear that all the time. Though this is true, and one of my personal arguments as well, I understand why, and this why is rarely addressed. So let's address it. Let's put this argument to bed for good with 3 words: pathological generational desensitization. See, through generations of socially pitting blacks against blacks through pigmentation, class, and phenotype, a self-hatred is psychologically created. If you hate yourself, you will hate your brother and your sister. In addition to this internal abuse, externally, blacks have become desensitized to killing other blacks through a strategic and ubiquitous debased death culture, a culture of death, where murder and intracultural conflict is glorified. If you got the juice, you get the respect. See, decades upon decades of this type of detrimental programming has rendered the black culture into a zealous Ouroboros, taking pride in eating its own tail. This is why it's so easy for blacks to kill blacks and not feel injustice. Because for decades, black on black conflict has been justified through establishment-controlled media, major motion pictures, and the music industry. We can always refer back to our studies on Plato, our studies on Aldous Huxley, and many others in their focus on how music alone has a spiritual power and can literally condition the spirit and the mind through sound and melody. These things aren't to be debated. This is why the music industry is so heavily utilized to socially engineer the public and create culture single-handedly. See, movies and music, these are the sources that directly create culture. Black establishment created culture has constructed black brain damage and a spiritual death. So we find the black community turning a blind eye to one type of black death, and on the other hand, uprising in a massive rage at another type of black death. What does this remind us of? One of our prime concepts here, which is cognitive dissonance, which is, as we always state, a key feature in trauma-based mind control. And the black population, through black culture and media-created victimization, has been split into a double mind and cognitively dissonant people. As a culture, it has forgot the obedience of God and fell in love with the world. And all that fake Christian garbage, pork chop pastors and church every Sunday, clubbing every Saturday stuff don't count. True Christianity is dead in the black population and dead in the world for the most part. Christianity provides an order and morality. And order and morality is required for community growth and development. Order and morality has been systematically removed from our communities. Unfortunately, all the brave souls and sincere people joining these movements and fighting this impossible battle for black justice are absolutely blind to all these facts. Many of us have very little understanding of our culture. True understanding, that is, how it's developed, who is behind its design, and how it is our main obstacle. At the very core, we are our own biggest enemy. Not police, not white citizens, not even racists. It's culture. Everything lies in the loins of culture. We have chosen the culture of this world instead of the one provided by the Father. So now we find an imbalanced love for our own lives, conditional concern, selective anger, misguided anger. How do you expect other groups to respect your life when you demonstrate daily that you don't respect your own? This is the importance of knowing the entrapment of culture, Black culture in particular. Now, some may say Black culture comes in many forms. This is true. What's important is the mainstream Black culture that seems to control the majority of the demographic. There's many sides to Blackness, this is understood. But there is a mainstream machine that is guiding the higher percentage of the Black people. And this is what needs to be addressed. This is what we all need to be concerned with. Now let's break down the futile nature of these protests. Clearly, Blacks as a group have not learned from the failures of the civil rights movement and revolution in general. Okay, but we can blame this on our Prussian model indoctrinating education system. But let's look deeper. Firstly, the movement functions on emotion and anger. I know we discussed this a lot here, but when functioning in these states, the proper use of logic and understanding are by default eliminated. Okay, so to begin, the protest movements are already self-defeating by this fact. But there's more. Same arguments, same fruitless tactics, same empty resolutions. And guess what? Same results. As far as the Black community is concerned, decades of protests, martyrs, and demonstrations have produced only band-aids, not to mention social regression. So maybe same results is not accurate, worse results over time. But it's not like the protests lack merit. That's not the point here, but it's because only one part of the argument is being addressed. Though Blacks are at the front door porch screaming out to the street about Black oppression and injustice, the same system being refuted is sneaking sealed and packaged Black culture through the back door, furnishing the Black home, gracing the walls and filling the television screen, and emptying the pockets. And this goes unmentioned in these half-sided protests and demonstrations. It's foolish. Same arguments, same tactics, same results. The Black population repeats the same actions over and over, yet expects a different result. This is defined as insanity. Lacking logic, lacking historical understanding, and mainly lacking God. The love of God, which is righteousness. But this movement doesn't know God, because this is how we know Him. If we keep His commandments. And he who says he knows Him and doesn't keep His commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. And His truth is righteousness. But we don't want the truth. We want the acceptance of the world. We aim to please man. We have been designed to function through ego, emotion, and vanity. Easy prey for the wicked tools of this society that shapes and molds us, keeps us in line, in conflict, confused, and awaiting instruction and approval. These protests, aside from the Soros Open Society Foundation and Google-funded provocateurs, are justified responses to trauma, though this trauma is being designed and aims to produce these exact responses. So we have to make it clear that a lot of these people are sincere and only having reactions to trauma. I myself, I can say I did the same for many years. I mean, I've always been an activist in my life. I remember 6th grade, my mom took me to see Malcolm X. It changed my life. I read the Alex Haley book at 11 years old. I remember wearing Malcolm X t-shirts to school and being reprimanded for it. I always was moved and affected by the trauma placed through media on Black people. So I can identify with this. Though the problem was I was misinformed, I was miseducated on truth. I was moved by culture of personality and Black pride. I was moved by the flesh. So yes, trauma is being designed and aims to produce these exact responses. A reactionary chaos with a preconceived solution that is unknown to those holding up fists and picket signs. We're manipulated lab rats in an elaborate sociological experiment. With this in mind, what seems apparent is that Blacks are fighting the wrong battle when there is a much bigger war to be fought. This proxy conflict between the oppressed versus the low-level foot soldiers. Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter. Though law enforcement and the Black population have always had a conflicting relationship, it has been designed, and police are being used as a red herring for a bigger, nefarious plan. Also, we must understand race conflict and societal oppression did not happen overnight, and neither will it change overnight. Oppression and marginalization of a group is formed gradually, and so must change be gradual. Steps must be taken within, not only without. There seems to be no real plan behind this movement, no structured consensual agreement group-wide, no order, just emotion and aggression. Splinter groups and disjointed organizations repeating frivolous chants and cliche mantras. Things just seem to be going through the motions with no true direction. Disorganization begets disorganization. Ignorance begets ignorance. A culture of victimization that lacks self-realization has blinded Black people's path of development. So we see the divide tactics and the blatant psychological operations hitting news feeds and media sources. But what might be the bigger nefarious plan? My theory, it's just a theory, is that racial conflict and divide is only a means to their solution. A psychologically reversed solution, carried through by what we have described before in my earlier work, trauma bonding. Creating a bond by way of traumatizing the subjects at hand. Currently, the trauma is racial conflict and conflict in general. The bond is oneness, the global citizen. Not Black nor white, not gay nor straight, not female nor male, but one. I'm sure you want answers, a sense of resolve, resolution. I'll try my best to make it simple. And this goes for all cultures, all peoples, not just Blacks. To end injustice and systematic oppression from the establishment, we must denounce the establishment, denounce the system, remove your television, stop supporting the music industry, Hollywood, celebritism, athletes, and corporatism. Expose them. My Black people, kill your culture. Denounce it. We believers call this leaving the world. It's the only form of victory you will have here. The people are the lifeblood of this system. Our spirits are its oxygen. When we remove ourselves, unplug, and in large number, Only then will any real change occur. If you keep complaining about the institution yet support it, what will you accomplish? The people need a consecutive and systematic detachment from mainstream society, a new growth in independently owned industries, a community based on independence and family. Of course, all of this could not be possible without a proper order, and this is only accomplished through God and His perfect word, righteousness, and understanding. Without this proper and natural God-given order, we are merely flesh and ego, which will only and always hinder success and community building. We must be not of this world, because being of this world subjects you to its ways, its rules, and oppressive organization, a kingdom of wickedness and slavery. You must seek the Most High. Only then will any people truly find freedom.